Monday, May 4th, 1987. This is News 31.
Today it was announced that 17 full-time employees of the Milne Computer Center are being laid off as the first step in phasing out the mainframe computer service at the center. The firings come as the result of shrinking revenue at the center, which is projected to lose over $300,000 this year. It was announced at a press conference on Friday. The budget shortfalls, which result in the firing of 13 employees last summer, come from the loss of business and from both faculty and students. The center's equipment seems to be the problem with the 12-year-old cyber mainframe computer. Many who used to use it now see it as obsolete and are turning to the computers provided by their own departments and colleges. The 17 people are only the first, as Milne staff of 64 will soon be whittled to 19 by July '89.
And the Commission of Campus Security is at stake for lack of formal police training. OSU police and security officers are now not being accepted for police academy training and face the possibility of losing their police commissions. Currently, campus police officers are being commissioned by Benton County sheriffs. The commissions have provided liability insurance and acceptance for training at the Oregon Police Academy. Oregon is the only state in the Northwest with no provisions in state statutes to certify police on college campuses. A Senate bill which would have authorized any institution under the State Board of Higher Education and the Commission employees was defeated in March.
A food handler at Anthony's restaurant in Corvallis has been diagnosed as having hepatitis A. April 20th through April 26th are the dates the County Health Department are worried about. If you ate there, you need to get a shot of immune globulin within 2 weeks of the visit to Anthony's, which is located on 5th Street in Corvallis. Also, anyone recently housed in the Benton County Corrections facility in Corvallis who was released between the dates April 16th and April 28th may have been exposed to the infectious hepatitis A also. If the immune globulin is received within 2 weeks of the time of exposure, the risk of developing hepatitis A is lessened and severity of symptoms in those who do become ill is decreased. Symptoms are chills, fever, tiredness, loss of appetite, and upper abdominal pains.
And finally, after 26 days, negotiators for striking school teachers and the Eugene School District ended contract talks, and progress was believed to have been made. A spokeswoman for the strike says both sides edged closer to an agreement on several key issues, including insurance and early retirement. Spokesmen also say that both sides should be called back to the bargaining table within a few days. Negotiators for the striking Eugene Education Board Association and the Eugene School Board have exchanged 3 settlement proposals.
The governor would get new broad authority to designate sites for prisons under a bill easily passed by the House today. The bill passed 48-11 despite arguments that it would damage local land use controls. The measure now goes to the Senate. Among provisions in the bill is one that the state can override local land use plans in picking locations for the new prisons. Backers of the bill say the state needs strong citing authority to avoid lengthy land use squabbles because of the nature of the prison problem. Opponents say there's no need for state power to override local land use plans when no problems with the location prisons have come up.
Well, it seems like a pretty hard problem that, that people don't want the prisons.
Well, they need some place to put the prisons, but the local land use is the problem.
Yeah.
I'll have more about Reagan may have known.
And the Oregon attorney is fighting against the Constitution. He feels it needs to be changed. Stay with us.
Apparently, President Reagan was aware that money was being raised to provide arms for the Nicaraguan rebels. Senator Daniel Inouye said Sunday but Reagan insisted his knowledge of private aid efforts was limited to a television campaign to garner support for the Contras. Inouye, the chairman of the Senate committee investigating the Iran-Contra affair, said the president knew much more than the White House has admitted. But Reagan said in an impromptu encounter with reporters Sunday, he had no detailed information about the private network. Open public hearings will begin on Tuesday to look further into the secret sale of U.S. arms to Iran and diversion of payments to Nicaraguan rebels.
And in Salem, Oregon, Attorney General David Frohnmayer says the state's constitution is old and in many ways archaic. After speaking to a House subcommittee on a House resolution to create a commission to study the document, Frohnmayer says the Constitution has undergone only one comprehensive review since Oregon became a state in 1859. Under the resolution, a 17-member body would make recommendations based on their studies of the Constitution to the 1989 legislature, although no final changes in the Constitution could be made without voter approval.
A majority of Oregonians support a safety net proposal that would prevent schools from closing for lack of funds, a public opinion poll commissioned by the Oregonians shows. The plan, which will appear as ballot measure 2 on the May 19th special election ballot, would allow school districts to automatically levy the same amount of property taxes levied the previous year. 67% of the respondents surveyed said they either are leaning towards or actually would vote yes. Ballot Measure 2 generated the greatest support, 74%, from college graduates and people with an annual income of $20,000 to $25,000. Conducted April 23rd through the 30th, the poll was based on a random statewide telephone survey of 826 people. You could draw from the survey that it showed Oregonians realize schools must stay open. Although 67% were in favor, 23 were opposed, and 10 undecided.
And the Oregon Senate is pushing ahead in its bidding for the federal Super Collider project. The lawmakers approved the $1.1 million appreciation bill to fund efforts to bring the giant particle accelerator to Oregon. 43 states are now considering going after the Super Collider and are putting from $400,000 to $60 million on the line. And by August, the competition is sure to heat up. If Oregon did win the Super Collider project, the payoff would not only be the $5.4 million $4 million itself, but also the 7,000 jobs connected with it. The first of the 17 test holes was drilled near Lebanon today, and all the holes to be drilled in Linn County should be finished within the next month.
Pope John Paul II, on a tour of Europe, paid tribute Saturday to 3 labor union leaders who died at the hands of Nazis after being accused of involvement in a failed attempt to kill Adolf Hitler. It was the 3rd day in a row that he spoke out in West Germany against Nazi World War II atrocities and praised Roman Catholics who defied the Third Reich. He also addressed social issues and asked for step-by-step nuclear disarmament. The notorious People's Court in Berlin, which sentenced to death thousands of Hitler's foes, convicted all 3 of helping plot the attack. If you remember, Hitler was hurt in the bomb explosion but survived it. The Pope strongly defended the conduct of German Catholic bishops and the vacation during the Third Reich on his tour. In a tightening of control over higher education, Chinese students now must demonstrate their ideological soundness by upholding the 5 loves. The 5 loves are love of socialism, love of Communist Party, of labor, of science, of technology, and of the motherland, before they can be admitted to universities, according to officials. The new poll appears aimed at bearing the admissions of the kind of students who launched street demonstrations in December and January that spread to as many as 20 cities across China. The State Education Commission has issued provisional regulations stressing that special attention should be paid to the political, ideological, and moral qualities of candidates seeking admission to universities, the official New China news agency reported last week.
You know, when I think about this, you think of the universities. How it would be hard to get into a university in the U.S. if it was that way.
I know, it really would be. Well, the weather was good today, and it was good Sunday, but I'm just wondering what the weather's going to be like tomorrow. And Patti isn't next to me, she's outside. So Patti, why don't you tell us, would you please?
Sure. It looks really good today. It's really nice out here. It was about 67 degrees earlier, and we got a light wind blowing, but I'll be back in a minute to give you the rest of the weather. Like I said earlier, it's a great day out today. We had some high clouds this morning, and those burned off early this afternoon, giving us some great weather today, and we can look for it a little bit tomorrow. So right now, let's check the current conditions in Corvallis as of 5 o'clock. It was 67 degrees. Humidity was 34%, the barometric pressure was 30.02 and falling, and our winds were north to northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. We take a look at some weather around the nation. Hopefully we can, there you go. In Washington, D.C., it was 53 degrees. Miami had a warmer 88. Nashville was at 74 degrees. And Dallas was at a warm 82. You can see they had some severe thunderstorms down there, and they have severe thunderstorms warning in the southern part of Texas, and those will stay in effect until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. In association with those are severe tornado warnings, so having some pretty nasty weather down in southern Texas. Albuquerque was at 72 degrees. Los Angeles was at a warm 82, and San Francisco was a little bit cooler at 80. Seattle was 70, and Portland was 72 degrees. Across the state, high pressure moving over the state brought us great weather this afternoon. As the high pressure builds, weather will continue to get warmer, and hopefully we'll have nice weather until late Wednesday evening. Along the coast, we're in the mid-60s, 65 Astoria, 62 in Newport. They had a trace of rain in Astoria. That was the only place in the state that had any precipitation today. In the valley, Portland, it was 71, Salem 69, Eugene 65, and Corvallis was at 67 degrees. In the other parts of the state, it was 80 in the Dalles, 78 in Pendleton, 80 in Redmond, and 77 in Baker. Our forecast looks really good for the next couple of days. Cascades, sunny and warm. The winds were from the east 10 to 20 miles per hour. The freezing level is 13,000 feet. On the coast, it will be sunny after morning fog. The winds are east to northeast at 15 miles per hour. The highs are near 70 and the lows are in the mid-40s. For the Willamette Valley, sunny and warm after morning fog, or those could be low clouds. The highs will be near 80, the lows 45. And Corvallis, Albany area, it looks great. Sunny and warm with patchy morning low clouds, winds north to 10 miles per hour. The highs will be 81 and the lows 50. So like I've said, it's going to be great. Hopefully it'll hang in there till Wednesday evening, maybe even Thursday. The high pressure keeps hanging around. We're going to have some great weather. So it's back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Patty. I mean, you're lucky. You get to sit out there and the birds chirping and everything else and bring us the weather. How do you feel about that?
It is great out here. I wish you guys were out here with me. You would just love it out here. You should feel jealous.
Well, we do, and we thank you for the good report on the weather.
Anytime.
Thanks, Patty.
Sure.
And a North Seattle Community College teacher is being accused of arrogance along with sexual innuendos and other unprofessional classroom conduct. More than 100 students have signed petitions against Ronald Reagan, a science teacher at the college. 2 students have filed formal complaints with the administration. The complaints have been saying that Reagan spends much of his class time promoting political views along with telling sexist and racist jokes. Reagan, who has been teaching at the college for the last 16 years, defends his teaching by denying that he is sexist and claims the jokes and politics are part of his technique. Reagan also says his job is not to be popular but to educate the students. Complaints against Reagan and petitions are now being reviewed.
Sounds like he's got some different ways of doing this teaching, but that's his way of trying his techniques. Jerry, what happened? The baseball?
Yeah, we had some great games yesterday. A lot of home runs, a couple grand slams. We'll have more on sports right after this.
Chuck and Gary or Al and Richard, who can answer this question for me? Title and the artist, and here is the piece. To find out who answers this question, join us tonight on The Game Show.
There were some great games around the league in baseball. Let's pick up the action in California's Anaheim Stadium. 6th inning fireworks for California as they had the bats blistering all afternoon. Boston coach John McNamara decides to walk Angel Wally Joyner after seeing him hit a previous homer. Will his decision backfire? Yes, it does. Coming to the plate is third baseman Doug DeCinces, who sends this shot into left field, hitting his first grand slam in 6 years. The Angels end up crushing Boston 11-4. The fans are loving their team, the weather, everything's going great in Anaheim. Elsewhere in the major leagues, Kansas City beat Cleveland 2-1. Oakland shut out Detroit 2-0, and Minnesota hit 4 home runs to beat the Yankees 4-3. The White Sox beat Baltimore by the same score, and Toronto beat Texas 3-1. In the National League, Eric Davis hit 3 homers, won a grand slam to lead Cincinnati over Philadelphia 9-6. Montreal blanked the Mets 2-0. The Cubs got by the Padres 4-2, and Atlanta surprised the Astros by a score of 5-3. It's time for the NBA playoffs. It's time for a champion to emerge. Detroit point guard Isaiah Thomas led his Pistons to a best-of-7 Game 1 victory yesterday as he hit a clutch free throw, winning it 112-111 for Detroit in the Omni in Atlanta. According to Thomas, the two teams are so close that every play is a big one, and his statement turned out to be true. Detroit coach Chuck Taylor says, "You got to be lucky when you're playing in the other team's arena." Elsewhere in the NBA, Milwaukee eliminated the 76ers as Craig Hodges came off the bench to score 14 fourth-quarter points, leading the Bucks by Philly 102-89. And Golden State sent Utah into the offseason, disposing of the Jazz 118-113. The Sonics hold a one-game advantage over the Rockets, and if they can keep their players out of trouble, they might surprise a lot of people. Oregon State spring football scrimmage got underway. Scott Crosby was there, and here's more on the story.
Unbelievable performance in the second period lighted the way to a 2-1 lead in the series championships. And in the NHL, the Detroit Red Wings had their backs against the wall, facing the Toronto Maple Leafs Wednesday night. Yet they dodged elimination from the NHL playoffs as 9-year veteran Glenn Hanlon came through with Detroit's first playoff shutout in 20.
Sorry, we had the wrong meter up. Let's move on to golf. When you think of Las Vegas, you think of big money, Rolls Royces, and lucky dice. And Paul Azinger was thinking big money when he cashed in on the $225,000 Las Vegas Invitational, golf's biggest payday. Azinger's eagle putt rolled 30 feet and found the bottom of the cup, breaking a three-way tie, giving him the win on the 18th hole. Hal Sutton had a chance to tie but missed a short putt to send it into extra holes. Azinger is now the leading money winner on the tour with $442,000 plus after capturing the tour's richest event. Scott Holt holed in one on the 17th hole to take home a $107,000 Rolls Royce. Not a bad day's work in Las Vegas. The 113th running of the Kentucky Derby got underway yesterday, and most trainers would agree the times weren't the fastest they've ever seen. Ali Sheba emerged as the victor after stumbling down the stretch, but pulling out the victory in the second slowest Derby since 1950. Trainer Jack Van Berg says Ali Sheba will run in the Preakness, looking for the second jewel of the Triple Crown. Dr. J has called it a career. After 16 years of professional basketball, 16 years of soaring through the air, 16 years of scoop-de-doops and dunks, Julius Erving has played in his last professional basketball game, and the champion went out in style. Erving held the ball high over his head as he left Milwaukee's Mecca Arena with a game-high 24 points. Even though it was the Doctor's last game, he will always remain in the hearts and minds of everyone who's seen him play, giving the fans everything, leaving the game his way. A true champion. It's going to be sad to see Dr. J leave the game.
Oh, I know. He was the best. And fingerprint technology is catching up to crooks. New computerized technologies have vastly enhanced the effectiveness of fingerprints in criminal identification. In a 20-page report from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, new automated fingerprint identification has sharply been increasing the usefulness of latent prints left by criminals on crime scenes. The report also stated that computerized identification methods has broken some stubborn cases, such as the 1985 Night Stalker serial murders in California. The computers can search 500 to 600 prints per second and go through 500,000 prints in a matter of minutes.
Oregonians strongly favor bills that would require companies to grant women 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave and that would require motorcyclists to wear helmets. But a smaller majority supports requiring all motorists to wear seat belts, according to a survey conducted for the Oregonian. Of all four issues surveyed, support was strongest for a bill that would require motorcyclists or motorcycle riders to wear helmets. 79% of those polled said they favored a mandatory helmet law. 18% were opposed and 3% were undecided. There also was a sizable gender gap on this issue. An overwhelming 91% of all women supported such a requirement, compared with 56% of men. Despite the strong support, the measure has been stuck on the House Human Resource Committee for lack of votes.
And owners of liquor-selling establishments have squared off against advocates of tougher liquor liability laws. Both sides were testifying in an Oregon House subcommittee on a series of conflicting bills concerning liability for taverns and restaurants. State laws make bars liable for damages if they serve drinks visibly to intoxicated individuals. Restaurant and tavern owners say it is hard to determine who has had too much to drink. Advocates upkeeping and toughening current laws say drunken drivers, usually uninsured, cannot pay for damages. This means victims have nowhere to turn except to bar and restaurant owners to carry insurance.
That must be awful hard for a bartender or somebody working at the bar to not serve somebody.
Yeah, right.
There's a fine line in there of whether somebody is too drunk to drive or whatnot. For all of us here at News 31, Patti, who's still outside, have a good evening.
Good night.